Hi, I'm Dr. Buck Weaver. I'm a neuropsychologist and director of the Weaver Center here in Wayland, Massachusetts, and I always appreciate all the questions that I've gotten from you all when you've sent me emails at rweaver@weavercenter.org. And one of the most recent comments was how to navigate and negotiate with school systems about one's child. And as you all know, I had very severe and well diagnosed dyslexia when I was in first grade, and then third had hyperactivity was identified, and fourth and fifth organization and memory difficulties. So I've really struggled a long time to try to figure out the best ways for those of us that have learning, and I certainly had a lot of anxiety and depression as well, how we can really get the most out of ourselves using strengths. So this is a very good topic about how to get the most out of the teachers and school that your child is in. It might be a little bit different when you're younger versus middle school versus high school, but there are some very important points to keep in mind. Number one, you always want to have the best relationship that you can with your son or daughter's teachers. That's always the best thing to do. And the best way to do that is to let them know in any communication, always better by email, in my opinion, because then you can keep records, and you should always have a way to keep all the records that you get from the school dated and what they are, like evaluations, progress reports, if they have an IEP, if they have a 504, what the plan is, etc. So from a parent's point of view, having a good relationship with your child's teacher is really good. And the best way to go about developing that is to say that we would like to be a partner with you in terms of our son's or daughter's education or their ability to learn, to be able to coordinate our efforts with your efforts in terms of homework and communication, and so that we can work together to get the most out of this year. Very positive approach. And that we would really like to know, and this is something that I like to educate teachers about when they're communicating with parents, is the five, the four W's, right? You want to know what is going well for your student and what are causing difficulties for your student. Next, it's very important to know about the strengths and challenges. When do they happen? How do they happen? What do you observe? Where is the next one? Where do you notice their strengths playing out the most, and maybe their challenges are playing out? Always trying to take notes and ask more questions. And the most important question of all is, why do you think they're having those strengths? What is it that you've observed in terms of what you think is a skill or an aptitude? We always like to reinforce really good things. And if there's difficulties, why do you think those might be happening? So just being involved in asking the teachers what's the best way to communicate, how often could we communicate with you? What's reasonable? We'd prefer to do something weekly, even if it's really brief, but at least every other week, so that we can get some feedback on these various W approaches to developing a good relationship with your children's teacher. The other important advice that I always say to parents, and this is sometimes very hard to do, but if you have an accommodation plan or a special education plan that also has accommodations in it, or if there's a regular education plan that's just been put in place, but it's not official, like a 504 plan or an accommodation plan, we call it, or a special education plan, is to really read any documents that you get very, very carefully. And even the reports sometimes are difficult to understand, but there's a couple of things that are very important about these documents. You can easily put them as best you can into strengths and difficult areas, right? The more you know about your child's learning and attention, behavior, and social skills, the more you can understand and not react in a negative way, and you can help advocate effectively for your son and daughter because you have the information that is individualized about them. So the more you can review and write these things down, the much better you're going to be prepared for interacting with the teacher or administrators or whoever you interact with at school. The better prepared you're going to be, the more you know the recommendations. And even though these reports sometimes can be difficult to wade through, they're very important because any place that you have a question, I mean any place in the documents for your child's schooling, any place that you don't understand what it means or how does that apply or why does that mean the recommendations or this or that, it's very important to get to your guidance counselor, the school psychologist, or in our case, a lot of people come to a private practice institute for neuropsychological evaluations and educational and emotional, social and emotional evaluation. But to be able to know your child's documents for school is so important. And the next conversation, as some of you have probably already heard, I'm a very big advocate for kids being advocates for themselves. Who knows themselves better than they do, and who could ask the questions better in terms of what they're supposed to be receiving in the classroom or at the school. Anyway, keep the emails coming. I really appreciate it, and I will look forward to talking a little bit more the next time that we're talking or listening, to talk a little bit more about some of the specifics that you can learn at this time of the year to kind of get ready for, fall and especially winter, so that the best of the best can happen for you and your child. As always, thanks so much for the emails and listening and giving me some great feedback. I've really had some very nice feedback. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Bye.